John 10. Very truly I tell you, Pharisees, anyone who does not enter the sheepfold by the gate, but climbs in some other way, is a thief and a robber. The one who enters by the gate is the shepherd of the sheep. The gatekeeper opens the gate for him, and the sheep listen to his voice. He calls his own sheep by name and leads them out. When he has brought out all his own, he goes on ahead of them, and his sheep follow him because they know his voice. But they will never follow a stranger. In fact, they'll run away from him because they do not recognize a stranger's voice. Jesus used this figure of speech, but the Pharisees did not understand what he was telling them. Therefore, Jesus said to them, very truly I tell you, I am the gate for the sheep. All who have come before me are thieves and robbers, but the sheep have not listened to them. I am the gate. Whoever enters through me will be saved. They'll come in and go out and find pasture. The thief comes only to steal and kill and destroy. I have come that they may have life and have it to the full. I am the good shepherd. The good shepherd lays down his life for the sheep. The hired hand is not the shepherd and does not own the sheep. So when he sees the wolf coming, he abandons the sheep and runs away. Then the wolf attacks and the flock and scatters it. The man runs away because he is a hired hand and cares nothing for the sheep. I am the good shepherd. I know my sheep and my sheep know me. Just as the Father knows me and I know the Father, and I lay down my life for the sheep. I have other sheep that are not in this sheepfold. I must bring them also. They too will listen to my voice, and there shall be one flock and one shepherd. And the reason my Father loves me is that I lay down my life only to take it back up again. No one takes it from me, but I lay it down on my own accord. I have authority to lay it down and authority to take it up again. This command I received from my Father. This is the word of the Lord.
Good morning, everybody. Well, we're in this preaching series called See Jesus. We want to see over the course of these few weeks that the whole of the Christian life, before it's anything else, is about a journey of deepening appreciation, enjoyment, and delight in the person of Jesus Christ. He's the beginning and the end. He's the point of it all. He's everything we need. He's everything we want. He's worthy of our trust. He's deserving of our worship. And seeing him makes us love him. That's what we're all about these few weeks. And the title I've been given today with John 10 is, How Can I Live My Best Life? How can I live my best life? And it's because I think at the heart of this passage is the great verse we've just heard read, John 10:10. Jesus says, I have come that they may have life and have it to the full. Of course, there are lots of promises out there in the world, aren't there, about this idea of living a full and happy life, of living the good life. But we're going to think about what it would mean if we took Jesus seriously when he says that today. When he says that true life, full life, or abundant life is in him and comes from him. I have come that they may have life and have it to the full. So please keep your Bible open, whether it's a book or on your phone or whatever. We're going to look at John 10 and we'll start at the beginning, verse 1. Jesus says, I tell you the truth. The man who does not enter the sheep pen by the gate, but climbs in some other way is a thief and a robber. The man who enters by the gate is the shepherd of his sheep. And this sets up the first thing I want to just draw out of this passage, which is, you are a sheep. I don't know if you've ever thought about that before. This whole passage hangs around this thought that you, me, we are sheep. And we are sheep who are caught between two opposing realities. On the one hand, there are thieves and robbers who want to break into the sheep pen like rustlers and steal us away. On the other hand, there is the shepherd, the one who will feed and protect and care for the sheep. And the sheep know and trust him. And so this passage is sort of set up as a bit of a warning and as an invitation at the same time, right? Which is to say, sheep, all of you, sheep. If you want to live, if you want life to the full, then look out, be on your guard, because there are many who would attack you and hurt you. And there is one who will love you and care for you. Don't just trust whoever shows up in your life. Look out for the Good Shepherd. That's kind of the whole framework of the passage. And I don't know how you feel about being compared to a sheep. It kind of goes against everything we're told about ourselves by our society, doesn't it? To think of ourselves like sheep. Living my best life, I would think surely that would be about me sort of carving out what's best for me in my life, surfing the waves of opportunities and relationships and work and money, and surely no one else can sort of do that for me. I need to do that. And that's why the wisdom of this age is, well, it's generally quite self-focused, isn't it? All of the kind of advice we get, all of the kind of greetings card sentiments, you have to find your own path. If people say that sort of thing, you do you, babe. Believe in yourself, right? Find out what brings you joy. Stay hydrated. On the whole, aren't we constantly sent inwards? We're sent inwards to understand ourselves and our place in the world. And, if we want to discover ourselves, we go off, on a gap year hiking in the Andes with people we've never met. And somehow we think that we're going to discover ourselves that way. Or, we want to sort of get in touch with who we really are. We think, I probably would have to sit in the middle of a field, like listening to Irish music, and just somehow sort of float into a better understanding of who I am. Maximizing life, understanding who we are, getting the most out of life would seem to us to be about self-empowerment. It would seem to be about standing up for yourself and doing what you believe is right, and getting what you want from the world because no one else is going to get it for you. You know the poem Invictus? It ends with that famous line, I am the master of my fate. I am the captain of my soul. But Jesus says, it isn't so. It isn't so. And I think many of us know and feel that it isn't so. You may think that living your best life would be an independent, self-driven thing, but you know that you're not always in control. You know that. You can't make everything you touch turn to gold. You can't manage every relationship and situation and emotion and outcome. You just can't. There's so much that is out of your control, and even the things that are in your hands, well, it's so easy to let it go and lose your grip. And the biggest, most consequential things in our lives are often totally outside of our control. Life and death, hopes and fears, love and relationships. And Jesus says, you're not really the captain of your own soul. You're more like a sheep. Now, I want to show you a short video at this point because I think this may illustrate it better than I can. And you may have seen this video before. Here we go. I'm hoping it will appear for you.
С этой стороны, против солнца.
That will do, I think. We got the slow-mo as well. The first comment on that video on YouTube says this: I relate to this sheep on a spiritual level. And I have to say, me too. I remember as a teenager having the realization one day, I can't actually trust myself most of the time. I can't. Who knows what I'll do? I surprise myself. I disappoint myself. I let myself down. I will dive into that ditch like that sheep without warning. And the sheep is actually a very common scriptural image for us as humans. Isaiah 53:6. We all, like sheep, have gone astray, turned aside to our own way. Matthew 9:36. Jesus sees the crowds, and it says he saw the people were harassed and helpless, like sheep without a shepherd. Psalm 23, you know it. The Lord is my shepherd. So when it comes to finding life to the full, the first point that we've got to deal with here is that Jesus flatly contradicts all the advice of our society, all of the wisdom of our age. He says, you are a sheep, and you need to look outside of yourself and beyond yourself for life. Jesus says, you need me. You need me. So, number one, you're a sheep. Point two, I want us to pay attention to the warning Jesus gives, and I'm calling this one, beware the baddies. Because look at verse 3 of John 10. The watchman opens the gate for him, for the shepherd. The sheep listen to his voice. He calls his own sheep by name and leads them out. That's a bit of a theme through this passage, the idea of being the sheep being led. And in our sheepiness, you and I, we are always being led by something or someone. We are always being led around. Jesus has said already that we're either rounded up by the good shepherd lovingly, or we're being attacked by predators and thieves. In other words, spiritually speaking, you are either in the hands of the familiar farmer who's got a key to the sheep pen, who comes in the right way, who's coming to do good to you, or you are being snatched up by strangers who are bundling you into the back of their truck and taking you off who knows where. Beware the baddies. Now, in John 10, Jesus is particularly warning about the Pharisees, who were the religious leaders in Israel in his time. They were notoriously hypocritical, selfish, cruel leaders of the people. In fact, the Old Testament had said that leaders like this were shepherds who fed themselves instead of the flock, Ezekiel 34:2. Leaders like this didn't care for the flock, but scattered the flock, Jeremiah 23:1. And Jesus was telling the people of his day, look, the Pharisees, in all of their legalism, their religiousness, their man-made rules, they cannot give you life. So watch out for them. They're bad shepherds to follow. They're more like, verse 13, the hired hands who Jesus says care nothing for the sheep. There's no real care for the sheep in them. Now, I think we have to recognize that the Pharisees aren't the only ones, right? There are many baddies out there in the world today who can lead us so easily. Have you ever noticed how easily your heart is captured by something or someone, and you're led along, even against your will at times, right? You can be led even against your will. Of course, advertisers know this best of all, don't they? They know that people and things capture our hearts and desires, and they make us act on it. And we can find ourselves wanting things or trying things that we might never have imagined we would. 2 hours ago, I didn't know this product existed, but now I can't stop thinking about how much I need it, and my life will be complete without it. Because we're heart-driven creatures, we are easily captured and brought along. We are easily led. And you know this because, technically, of course, maybe someone's saying, well, I do whatever I want. I'm free. I choose every day what I want to do. Yes, you do, but you can't control what you want, right? You do what you want, but you can't control what you want. When did you last choose who you fell in love with? When did you last decide what scene on TV to cry at? When did you last dictate what temptations would or would not appeal to you? My wife and I were on holiday last week, and in our Airbnb, just by the front door, there was a little framed picture that said, "Choose happy." And it became our kind of jokey catchphrase for the week, partly because it's so tacky, partly because of the poor grammar, and because when did you last ever choose to be happy? Like, how does that work? You can't just wake up on a day that is full of fear and despair and worry and say, do you know what, I'm just going to choose to be happy. No, something or someone has to come and make you happy. It's part of our sheepiness that we're heart-driven, and we're easily led by what captures our hearts. And as you think about trying to live your best life, trying to get the most out of life your way, even perhaps tomorrow morning, what is likely to capture your heart and lead you around this week? Maybe you're a planner. You like mapping out your life, sketching a 5-year plan of goals and achievements, on the grind daily, burning the candle at both ends, challenging yourself. And it kind of feels good to take control, but it's really tiring. Maybe you're more of a partier. This might be more of a 6 p.m. kind of scenario, but I'll give it to you anyway. You're out most nights. I know most of you parents, you're not. Maybe though, this could be true. Drinking as much as you can hold. That glass or two at the end of the workday that you kind of really need. Trying whatever is on offer. And it kind of feels exhilarating to live life in that way, where you kind of let yourself go sometimes. But it also feels quite empty when you think about it. Maybe you're a pleaser. Your friendships, family, boyfriend, girlfriend, spouse, they are the most precious thing to you. And everything you do deep down is motivated by getting the approval and appreciation of those people. You dream of their love and their affirmation and affection, and you dread their rejection. And it's kind of fulfilling to be so centered on people, but it also feels dangerously fragile. Even things that are good in and of themselves can end up as baddies in our lives if they take the place of Jesus. Because anyone or anything other than Jesus, the Good Shepherd, cannot be the shepherd and the leader that we need. Look at verse 8. Jesus says, "All who ever came before me were thieves and robbers." And in fact, verse 10, the thief comes only to steal and kill and destroy. So for you, whether it's personal achievement or the buzz of experiences or the approval of others, however great they may be, if you go to them for life, if you're led by them like a sheep, then those things will end up taking from you, taking happiness, taking freedom, taking sleep, taking peace, taking life. They're not good shepherds, but thieves and robbers. And as soon as we make shepherds of the things that are down here in the world, people, possessions, feelings, status, they will always end up taking from us. And so the third thing I want to say from this passage is that we must come and meet the Good Shepherd. You're a sheep. Beware the baddies. Come and meet the Good Shepherd. Come and meet Jesus, because it is so completely different with Jesus. He is the opposite of all of this. Look at John 10, verse 11. I am the Good Shepherd. The Good Shepherd lays down his life for the sheep. The Good Shepherd lays down his life for the sheep. Jesus does not take, he gives. That is how you tell the Good Shepherd from baddies. That is how you tell him apart. He's not demanding, he's generous. He's not selfish, but he's self-giving. All the way to laying his life down for you on the cross. He is the shepherd you can trust. He's the shepherd you can trust with your life. The hired hands, verses 12 and 13, they don't care anything for the sheep, right? They'll do a runner when the wolf comes to pick off a sheep. But verse 4, as the Good Shepherd takes his sheep out into the world, look at verse 4. He's not sitting a few fields away on a tractor watching them with a drone. Verse 4 says, he goes on ahead of them. He's personally leading the sheep out into the world. He puts himself between his flock and danger. He calls the sheep his own, verse 4, and he literally gives his life for them. They are that precious to him. You know, we live in a time when very many people are frustrated and hurt by the broken promises and false humility in our leaders and our institutions. I think that's a conversation that's happening all around us the whole time. Failure of leadership. Here is a leader and a shepherd for your soul who only gives and never takes. Isn't that a relief? Here is one who prioritizes you before himself. Jesus taught us to love one another and put others' needs before our own because that's what he always does. He came for those who needed him in the deepest darkness and the worst trouble when he got his hands dirty in their sickness and their sorrow. He reached out to the lowest, the most sinful ones, and he personally absorbed the objections and the anger of the self-righteous and the critics for doing so. He said, remember, that when one single sheep from his flock is lost, he would leave the other 99 sheep safe. He would go out on his own, risking the elements and among predators to go and find that one foolish, wayward, stumbling sheep and bring it home. And he said he would joyfully put that sheep on his shoulders and carry it home. And he said that this one single sinner who repents is enough for him to call together the angels of heaven and celebrate and rejoice with him. So glad is he when one lost person comes to him. This is the Good Shepherd. And Jesus' cross is the proof of his heart for you. The cross of Jesus is the proof of his heart for you. The one who loves you so much that he laid down his life for you, to save you from sin and death and danger, to give his life for you and to you. We sometimes sing, Jesus sought me as a stranger, wandering from the fold of God. He, to rescue me from danger, interposed his precious blood. Now, I want us to understand as we come to a close here, what Jesus means when he says he's going to give us life to the full. What do you think Jesus means by life to the full? There are loads of people and products out there who promise to improve your life. Everything from cutting carbs and upping your protein, to decluttering your house or deleting social media, identifying undiagnosed conditions, discovering your personality type. You're getting an idea of my Instagram algorithm right now. They're all tapping into the desire we have, aren't they, to be at our best, to maintain our youth, to have an easier, more efficient life, to be a best version of ourselves. I have almost deleted Instagram recently because it's made far too many assumptions based on my age about things like weight gain and hair loss and hormonal changes. I was starting to feel quite insulted by it, to be honest. Everything is trying to tap into that desire we have to be the best version of ourselves. Really important to see, Jesus is not promising here to give you whatever you want. That's not what's going on here. He is not about improving or upgrading your life in the ways you would quite like. His promise of life to the full is not sort of Christian wish fulfillment. It's not God as a vending machine up in heaven. It's certainly not saying that if you come to Jesus, life will be perfect and just as you want. So, if you're a Christian this morning and you are struggling, suffering in some way, if life is tough for you at the moment, and there will be many of us in the room and watching online, please do not believe the lie that Jesus has lost his grip on you. Please don't believe the lie that Jesus doesn't care about you anymore. Please don't believe the lie that Jesus has forgotten you because life is hard. He has not broken this promise about life to the full. No, we need to define fullness of life his way, the way Jesus defines it, and not our own. And so look at verse 17 with me. Verse 17, Jesus says, I lay my life down only to take it up again. He's talking about his resurrection from the dead. that after the Good Shepherd had laid down his life on the cross, so he rose again on the third day. Because his life is so full, so powerful, that not even death can stand in its way. Not even the grave can snuff out the life of Jesus, the Good Shepherd. And what does that mean for us, his sheep? Well, it's captured in the way Jesus speaks about the sheep knowing the shepherd's voice and going with him. Look at verse 3. The sheep listen to his voice. He calls his own sheep by name and leads them out. Verse 4. His sheep follow him because they know his voice. It's captured too in the way Jesus speaks about himself as the gate or the door for the sheep. Verse 7, Jesus says, I am the gate. Verse 9, whoever enters through me will be saved. He will come in and go out and find pasture. The fullness of life that Jesus is offering is not about circumstantial happiness. It's not about prosperity. It's not about a life of ease right now. In fact, Jesus most often tells us not to expect those things. Right? Don't expect that. This kind of life, I even want to say this, it's not even that Jesus is offering us a transformed life. That's language we might quite often use, that Jesus wants to change your life. No, this is a life that goes down into the tomb and bursts out again victorious. That's the kind of life we're talking about here. We're talking eternal life, everlasting life, death-conquering life, as you go with the Good Shepherd through death and into new life. Jesus is promising you this morning life and love and fullness that no relationship or lifestyle or achievement or cause can deliver. You can take none of those things with you beyond your last day on earth. But the Good Shepherd, he will lead you through the valley of the shadow of death and on to dwell in the house of the Lord forever. That's what Jesus is promising. Do you know him? Have you met the Good Shepherd? Have you experienced his love and his life? Are you lost and wandering and need to have him come and find you today? He'll pick you up, put you on his shoulders, and bring you to safety. He loves to do that. He'll do it for you. It turns out that among all the gimmicks out there, the best life, the fullest life, is the life that listens to the voice of Jesus, the life that follows the Good Shepherd. It's a life where you start to trust his voice and blank out the other voices that you begin to realize are actually destructive and dangerous voices. It's a life that actually has limits and boundaries. There's a sheep pen to be in. There's a way to walk in. There's a shepherd to follow. There are boundaries, and we want to say no to bad shepherds. It's a life that can even begin to deny yourself and go where Jesus leads. And I believe there are some people in the room this morning who are dying for that kind of life. You're desperate for that kind of life. A life that is safe with the Good Shepherd, that is secure and intimate and fulfilling because it's having the Good Shepherd know you and you know the Good Shepherd. To live under the smile of the God of the universe, who knows your name, who knows what's best for you, knows what threatens you, and he has nothing to give to you but love and life and grace and peace. So become a sheep who knows his voice today. Come to Jesus, the Good Shepherd, as the way into this eternal kind of life. For the best life you could imagine, then, recognize you're a sheep. I'm sorry. Beware the baddies and come to the Good Shepherd.